a lot of people debating today if has Daniel Jones done enough for the Giants to lock him up long term and to be considered the guy in New York.
Well, I think he finally has a coach now that has really figured out what his strengths and weaknesses are, and he's taking advantage of those. And Brian Dable,
Yeah.
he did the same thing with Josh Allen when he was in Buffalo. He's doing that with Daniel Jones now. Daniel's playing with a lot more confidence. They're doing the things that he does well. They're using his legs. He's not having to throw the football a ton. And to
Yeah.
his defense, he doesn't have that great a talent around him.
Oh,
They need to go out and get him some better receivers, and I think you'll see his game even go to another level. So I think Daniel can be the guy for the future, and he's in the last year of his contract. So we'll wait and see what happens as he gets into the playoffs and how he plays in the playoffs. But I think he's somebody that they can build around just because of the way he's shown himself this year, and not having a lot of talent around him, still getting this team to the playoffs, I think is impressive.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Giants fans expected that they'd probably have a high draft pick this year, but turns out and that's a good thing, but it's not going to be all that high. A guy who has just declared his intentions, Warren, Bryce Young. What do you think? What do you think of him? A lot of people think Bryce could be the number one pick in the draft, best quarterback. But when you watch him play, what's your take on Bryce?
Yeah, he certainly helped himself this weekend where a lot of
Yeah,
other guys were opting out and not wanting to play for their teams. He goes out and throws 4 or 5 touchdown passes and wins a game. He's just a very skilled player. He has great instincts with the ball in the pocket. The thing that scares me about him, he's not a big guy. He's
yeah.
only about 195 pounds. I think he's right around 6 feet. So that kind of bothers me as far as being able to make all the throws from the pocket and that type of thing. But as far as all the other intangibles, great leader, all those different things, you love everything about it. Comes from a great family. So he's going to be a top pick. If he's not number one, he's going to be a top 1, 2, or 3 pick, depending on what that team needs up there. And I don't know if the Giants wouldn't be in the territory to get
No,
him.
I don't think
They're
so.
going to draft somewhere around 20 or
Right.
something up there from where they finished. So he's probably out of the question for them.
Do you just and I asked this Warren because they're similar in stature, but when you see a guy like Tua and Tua has been getting banged around and it's obviously this has become an issue for the NFL now and how to handle this guy because he's a lot of people think he's really been put at risk. Does that factor into the equation when you're looking at drafting somebody else who was a smaller guy who, the game might be a little too physical for at the next level?
Yeah, I think teams are going to look at that. In NFL, teams tend to, copy other teams, and they look and see what the trends are, or whatever
Yeah,
it might be. And in this case, it's because Tua has had all these concussions this
yeah,
year, and like you said, a smaller quarterback, and Bryce is a smaller quarterback.
yeah.
So that's definitely going to be a topic of conversation when you're talking about Bryce Young, as far as one of the negatives that you can look to try and find in him. There's not a lot of negatives, but
No.
that's definitely a negative, and that's a big negative because you want that guy to be available to you all the time. And that's what Tua has not been for Miami.